Tonight we are taking a look at the Winco PST-5B pastry cutter. In case you're not familiar with what this item does, it's used in pastry doughs. These 5 blades, they're used to cut butter into flour, and it gets you a fluffier dough than if you were to knead everything by hand. You could do the exact same thing with a butter knife, but something like this with 5 blades is going to go a lot quicker. I took the butter out of the fridge and I had it sitting outside on the counter for about an hour, so that it's not going to be as hard. In addition to our pastry cutter, we're also going to need a butter knife here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our pastry cutter and start working the butter into the flour. Then we take our knife and just pull the pieces off. Mix them together and just repeat. Oops. Every time I go through the butter, I just use my knife over here to scrape off the pieces. That's all there is to it. We can see we got the big butter chunks out. We just have some little ones. We're ready to keep going to the next step. Now that we saw how this item works, we are ready to move on to functionality. Now when you're looking to buy a pastry cutter, there's a few things you want to look for. The first is the handle attachment. Now this Winco pastry cutter is attached with 2 screws. You've got your handle and a screw on each side connecting the frame. This is very important because it's sturdy. When you've got 2 screws attaching it, it's not going to fall apart on you when you press down really hard on it. The second thing I like about this pastry cutter is that the frame and the blades, they're one piece. So when I actually use my pastry cutter and I press down on it, notice how the blades themselves, they don't move, they don't flex. We want them to be rigid, we want them to stay still. The biggest drawback I find with this item is the handle. It's not very comfortable. And if butter gets on it, if it gets slippery, it's going to be very hard to control. It's going to move back and forth and you're going to have a hard time getting a good grip on it. Moving on to fit and finish. Fit and finish is not something this item does too well in. The frame over here, it's got a lot of sharp edges. And the blades, especially the back of the blades over here, right where I have my thumb fingernail, we've got these sharp burrs on them. When you take your sponge, you go through and you start scrubbing them, you'll notice that fibers will get stuck in between these rough edges. Now that's a little irritating, and there are a couple things you can do about it. Some 600 grit sandpaper you can use to polish these. And the second thing you can do is when you wash this, instead of using a scouring pad or a towel, go with a brush. A nice brush with some thick bristles. You can get in there, clean it off, and you're not going to have fibers attached to the rough edges. To sum things up, this pastry cutter, it's a great choice if you're looking for something that's durable, that's going to last a long time, and you don't mind having a slightly uncomfortable grip. I hope this review was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them in the comments section.